Okay, in this dimensioning video, you will need to tape it down and you will need to line it up with your straight edge so we can draw it. You won't have to use any of your scales on it because I'm giving you a specific measurement and telling you what the squares are equal to. So that's how you're going to find those. You're going to have to actually do the math part on your own, but I'm going to show you how to do partial of it to make it a little easier for you. And then you go back and make it look like the example. So again, it's nice and lined up, so I'm going to use my straight edge here. And when I start off, it's just going to be lightly. Nothing is dark. Everything is always going to, oops, that one got off. Get a brush, clean it off. So when I'm doing this one, there's a couple things I want to know. I want to know what is my distance from here to here, here to here, here to here. I obviously will need to know what's the size of this radius of the circle. I'll need to know what's the size of the diameter of the circle. So there's some things we have to start looking here, like what do we need to know? You have to look at the object and see, what do I need to know? What's there? What can I see? What can't I see? What do we need to know? So I need to know. Right at about a 1/4 inch right there. Our friend, the eraser shield, to lightly draw our guidelines so we can later in properly the measurements we need. So I'm just trying to find areas where they can go. So this should start to make a little sense to you. Again, everything's really light at first to start with. And then once you know you've got it right, you don't need to darken it in. And again, our friends, the eraser shield to get our points. Okay, next, looking at it, I need to know these measurements over here. So again, everything is extremely light to start with. And then it's going to become a little darker when we get a little closer to the end and we know we've got it right. Uh-oh, I hear a fire truck outside. It's not a good sign. But everybody's okay. Okay, so I'm just continuing and drawing those out. I'm not going to pull this out over here. I really shouldn't have to. But you can. To get it overall, what I'm actually going to do, we shouldn't need that because we've got the dimension over here. We can do a couple of things. And actually, I think I'm going to do the overall dimension on this side. Both would be acceptable. And I'm only going to do the little measurement for this part right here. So I actually don't need this line. And the reason why I'm making that decision, that way it shows to do it, is because I know I need to represent and tell what these two here are. And it really doesn't matter what angle you use. I'm just using it because the 30 is what I have on my hand, and it makes it easy for me. Okay, that one I did make a little darker so you can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. And I'm looking at this one as unidirectional, so it means it needs to go all one place, 2 place decimals, so it's going to be all the way down to hundredths. So there's some things you just have to tell yourself when you're doing it. So come here. Again, I'm marking my little guidelines. Over here, before I do those guidelines, I need to find out where they're going to go. Roughly 1/4 inch out. And then the overall. I don't need the overall for this one because it lines up to the radius of this. So that would be an over dimension, which we want to avoid doing. Remember, always avoid over dimensioning a problem if you can. Again, guidelines for your dimensions. Keep them nice and staggered so they don't interfere with each other. So I have all my guidelines for my dimensions. And so now let's actually dimension it. And what I'll do, I'll dimension this part right here, and then I'll explain this part, but everything else you're gonna have to do on your own, okay? You can look at the example to try to get an idea, but you're gonna have to do it on your own. So I know that each square is 1/4 inch, full scale, so I know it's a 0.25. And I look at it and I go, well, no, it's a half. Okay, well, how do I do that? How do I know what that is? Okay, you have to find out what's a half of 0.125. And that's not too hard, right? And that's 125, and then 250. So you have to do a little math and put this together. So this becomes 375. So since we're going to only go to the hundreds, which is the 2 decimal, it would be 0.38. So this has become 0.38. And then we want the overall, and since I know it's 0.25 each and there's 4 of them, that one's real easy. It becomes 1.00. So that's that overall depth here. And then I have to look at these and I have to find them. And how the heck am I going to do that? Well, you kind of have to figure out where do they end. And so I know that it's a half of the quarter, so it's at 0.125. So in this case, 0.13. So you're going to have 2 radiuses. There's 2 of them. And that's the 2 inside the parentheses with a radius of 0, 1, 3. Darken that in. Add my arrows. Add my arrows. Okay, arrow fits here, no problem. Arrow doesn't quite fit here, so it's actually better for it to go to the outside. I like to put my arrows first because they help me to visualize, see better just what the heck it is that I'm trying to dimension and line up to. Straight edge, leave that about 1/8 inch gap. Just like that. There's a gap. Doesn't hit that line, doesn't come over. It might on your light sketch and your construction line, but it's not on your final. And I want you to see how these are lined up, because your dimensions should always line up. They should not be cockeyed, for a better word. They should be lined up together. And so you just keep going and you do it. So if I was doing this one, that's like a half, so I'm going to draw dimensions, sticking it on there. Am I doing this one? I measure it again, find out what's my depth, etc. How do I find out what the radius is for this? Okay, so if we did the whole diameter, what's half the radius? Or if you just measure and count here, you're going to put those in. This one's a radius. Remember, you only do radiuses for arcs and curves, fillets, rounds, those kind of things. Otherwise, we try to use a diameter if it's a whole circle. All right. You're going to go finish this. You're going to go make it look as much as you'd like at the example, and you're going to have to finish doing the last of the math on your own.